Hi everybody. It's 12 o'clock here in H-Town in Houston, Texas. Hope everybody's doing super well today and having a productive week. Thank you very much for joining us. This is the second in a series of webinars that we're running. And today we're going to be talking about a subject that's very topical. It's a roadmap to digitization. And certainly in our experience, the feedback is kind of binary. Companies are either extremely successful and very happy with their digital strategy or not. There doesn't seem to be much in between. So we've looked at this and we've broken it all down and try and understand why. And we've got a roadmap that we've used internally to develop our software that we'd like to share with you today. So we've prepared some slides in the usual manner to go through, but by all means, we'd like this session to be interactive. We are using some new software today, so please forgive us if we're a little bit novices on this new software. We usually been able to pull people in and out, but we're not quite sure just how that's going to work today, but we're going to do our best to do that. But we'll give people just a couple of minutes to come on in. Maybe we're going to go through some instructions and housekeeping in a minute, but maybe just as a start, you'll see there at the bottom, it says, say something nice. Maybe you could just put in where you're joining us from here today. Just to give everybody a little breathing space and to get everybody joining in and joining us online. I don't know if you can make some comments at the bottom there. Let's see if that works, that function. I'll just put here. Just here. Here's Nesta coming in from H-Town. Great, Nesta. We've got Chris. Man, you've made it. All the way from Australia. My goodness, it's early morning for you, Chris, eh? Thank you for joining us, Chris. And Adam, great. From Red Deer. Nice. Well, we certainly appreciate your time, guys, and we want to make maximum use of your time. We don't take it lightly, and we want to give maximum value here. So we really do appreciate you joining us today, and we hope to provide some real value for you. Okay, well, let's go. So again, roadmap to digitization. We have a small panel of people from Rev1 and Tracker Technologies, which is our sister technology company. We're going to go through a little bit of housekeeping. We're going to go through some definitions, digitalization versus digitization. We're going to get that straight from the word go. As I talked about before, we've broke this whole journey down into 6 common sense, I would say, steps, although on looking at the marketplace, they're not all that common, but this is certainly what we did here, and the steps that we took that we'd like to share with you today, and produce some debate, I would say. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just have a look into our kind of end-to-end digitalization journey and our process, and we're going to have just a cursory glance at Tracker Prep, which is a facilities readiness tool, Tracker Check, which is our CMS, and Tracker Run, which is our MMS. And then we're going to open it up for a debate and have some actionable takeaways and some Q&A. So yeah, let's get rolling. So here's the panel for today. We've got Ricky Ergot, who's our CEO in Tampa. We've got myself and Andrew. So maybe Ricky, you could just introduce yourself, please.
Sure. Hi, I'm Ricky Ergot. I'm the CEO of Rev1. Some of you probably know me by now, but for others who don't, thanks for joining in today. Pretty excited to show you what we've got.
Okay, and I'm Martin Canham. I'm the Chief Delivery Officer here at Rev1, and I've been with Ricky for the past nearly 5 years, unbelievably so. But yeah, and Andrew, could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Andrew Rachel, I'm out of Dallas, director of the Tracker Technologies Group, responsible for client support and R&D across the software platforms.
Great, thanks, Drew. So we'll be bringing people in and out, and by all means, which, as I say, we're going to try and make this as interactive as we can. So, okay, Rick. So a little bit of housekeeping. This is recorded. So obviously it's live and it will be available on demand at our on our website for future reference and training purposes, as I say. We're going to aim for something like, I don't know, let's see how it goes, but 30 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever. We've done a few of these now and they have gone on a little bit longer. Obviously it depends on just the debate and the questions, and see how it goes from there. But usual things, there's various ways to get involved. One is you've just tried, which is type something below. There are questions at the right-hand panel. There's the chat, there's the questions which you can ask, and also there's a poll. We're going to do a poll in a minute to kick off. And then the people, yeah, we can see who's there. Excellent. Okay, great.
I think the poll is already published up there. So
yes, that's right. So I think probably the easiest thing to do would be, if you've got a question or a comment or anything, just please chat away in the bottom right-hand column there, and then we can see, you know, we can answer it in one of 2 or 3 ways, really. We can answer it straight away, or we can wait till the end for Q&A, or if it's something that we need to do a bit of research on, we can take a note and always get back to you. So there's various ways to get involved here. Okay, so just before we start, let's have a quick poll, if you wouldn't mind. So if everybody could just click on that poll tab. And the question is, okay, digitization, where are you in your particular journey? Are you early stage development? Are you late stage development? Or are you fully implemented? You know, just to give an idea of where we are. I don't know if, is it obvious there, Ricky, what we need to do? Yeah, okay, so good. All right, the poll's coming in now. So we've got, I guess this is dependent on the amount of people that actually poll, but okay, we've got early stage. We've got 1 fully implemented.
Well, early stage, hopefully this is helpful.
Yeah. Okay, so, all right. So, you know, 50-50, but, you know, certainly as we go around doing our day-to-day job, we do find it is binary. You know, there are people that are really, really happy, and then there's people that have kind of got a bit disillusioned with the whole thing. So, you know, we're here to discuss that today and to try and rectify that, I would say. Okay, so 2 definitions from kickoff. Digitization, which basically, as the definition says there, converts analog data and encodes it into ones and zeros, simply so it can be stored, processed, and transmitted on computers. But digitalization is more transformational. It's more than just making existing data digital. It embraces the ability of technology to, I would say, you know, collect data, optimize processes, establish trends, and make better business decisions. So we thought we'd get that sort of definition out there early, so that we could both, you know, understand the 2 different aspects of what people talk about when they talk about digitalization and digitization. Do you want to come in here, Ricky, at all?
Yeah, I think just for simplicity's sake, digitization is taking a piece of paper that you've written on and done a test on and converting it into a digital form, whereas digitalization is starting from the very initial input and creating it from a digital starting point. So you've got a mobile app, or you've got some sort of a digital input where that information goes in immediately as a digital input and carries throughout that entire process. So it's sometimes gets a little bit challenging. People use those 2 words interchangeably, but they're really a very subtle difference between the 2, but makes a big difference in the actual execution of work.
Yeah. And a couple of comments just come in there from Adam, just in the scoping stage, actually. That's where he is. And Chris is very much project dependent, is what Chris is saying there. So, okay, that's great. Thanks for that, guys. Okay, moving on. So here we go with the 6 steps to effective digitalization. We're going to look at why digitize, setting realistic expectations. So setting the game up to win before we start. And then, re-engineering and optimizing the manual process first before we even start to get a digital solution in. We then implement the digital solution. And of course, then we measure, analyze, learn, and tweak until we get what we want. And then, of course, the final step of any process should be continuous improvement. How do we get it to a point where we're getting delighted customers? So we're just going to go into each one of these. So, the big question here is why digitize? The big why. We've just put some ideas down here. Is why we're doing this because we've seen on LinkedIn that everybody's doing it, and it's the latest business trend. Okay, we've got to digitize. We must digitize. Okay, let's get some solutions put in. Is it the FOMO? Is it the fear of missing out that's driving us? Or is it a customer-driven initiative? Are our customers saying, well, for the next wave of major projects coming through, we can't have things the way we used to do it. We need to digitize and get better. But certainly, our why was a genuine desire to optimize what we've got and present the best internal processes that we can to our client, so we can get delighted customers. That was certainly our why. And I think, that's an honest why. And in our experience, looking at people's whys, that's a far better objective rather than just saying, okay, well, everybody's doing it, I need to jump on the bandwagon, and what do we really do? You're not off on the right foot, really. If it doesn't come from the top, from the management team down, it's going to be very, very difficult to implement, because it's not a walk in the park by any means, in our experience.
It has to have a purpose, I think, and in order to have a purpose, there has to be corporate buy-in. The team has to buy into it, because they're the ones that are going to ultimately be using it. And if they're not using it effectively, or if they're frustrated with it, it's doomed to failure from the very beginning. So you really have to carve out what that why is, and then build a implementation strategy around it so that people buy into it and feel like they're part of that integration, I think.
Sure. So maybe in the chat we can just have a quick look at what your why is. Why do you want to go on this digitalization journey? What's the driver? Yeah, that's right, Chris. For sure, it's not just paper with buttons. That's for absolute certain. I mean, we were talking about this morning, Ricky, and you came up with a great analogy. What I thought, from the Industrial Revolution with castings. And can you just allude to
the way I see it? And I'm a millennial, so don't hold it against me. But the way I see it is, from my past as a race car driver, we always had parts that were milled from a block of something, whether it's aluminum or steel or anything like that. So they always would mill it, but they would always have extra pieces and parts that they couldn't quite get to because of the way they had to move it around on a CNC machine. But with the new technology in 3D printing, it's all additive. So you build it exactly the way you need it. It doesn't have any extra weight, doesn't have any added unnecessary pieces for structural integrity. It's designed and built exactly the way it needs to be done. So to me, that's the way I see our software compared to, the industry is, look, we've designed our software from an additive standpoint so that it's built to accommodate whatever comes at it from the ground up, not let's figure out how to take that and then re-engineer it. And, it's got a bunch of pieces and parts that maybe people don't use, or it's not quite fitting the workflow. So that's the way I think we approach the software development of our software.
I think that's a great analogy. And like Rick is a millennial, but I'm a product of the Industrial Revolution. So I've actually had castings that you have to take the burrs off and spend time cleaning it all up, and there's extra waste. So, you know, it's a great analogy. And we've got some comments down here. So, you know, Buddy's saying time saving. Obviously, that's a great why. You know, we're going to save time because we're going to optimize that process. Efficiencies from Nesta. And Adam's saying, you know, improve processes, safety, and predictable delivery. Yeah, so you're getting that repeat delivery. There's nothing to chance. We know exactly what we're going to get at the end of the day. Also collect and use the data to drive better project and cost controls for the future. Yeah, once we've got that, we're going to talk about that in a little while, but once we've got that data, there's a lot we can do with it. And yeah, data mining again from Chris, and insights. Insights is the key word, my friend. Yep, absolutely.
I think there's one major benefit and advantage to digitizing too, which is safety. Safety is a big part of being able, you know, the transparency, the collaboration between using the software, and everybody's on the same page. And I'm sure everybody understands when spreadsheets are here and there and everywhere, people don't know where certain things are at. So from being able to collaborate and having that transparency, it only increases the safety level a lot too, which is, to me, an important aspect.
Yep. Predictable outcomes there, as Adam's quite rightly saying. So yeah, it mitigates the risk because it's all designed in. Great. Okay, so yeah, this by a long chalk is probably the biggest point. You know, the why, the big why, as we say. So from the why, we then set realistic expectations. You know, we all know that unrealistic expectations lead to disappointment and complacency, and then complacency just leads to, you know, that awful, you know, kind of midstream position where you're not getting what you want at all. Disillusionment, you know, so that'll never work. From a point of disillusionment, you'll never get anything to work. So set realistic expectations, set realistic goals. That's what we did. We came up with a set of KPIs up front, and they might not be the end of the day absolutely perfect KPIs because you tweak them along the way, but certainly, you know, we came up with half a dozen, and we can probably share those at a later date. You know, what those KPIs are, put them into some sort of balanced scorecard. So you rank them in order of priority, and then you know exactly why you're doing it and what the outcomes are before you actually implement. We're not even talked about any software solutions at the moment. We're talking about the whys and the purpose and the realistic goals and expectations. And then another one here is, okay, well, what do we digitize? Are we going to digitize everything, or are we going to go for the incremental approach? We know some of these major software houses have got solutions for everything, and you know, the thought is that, do we go for the big bang? That probably works in certain cases, but certainly our experience would prove that we go for the incremental approach. So how do we do that? Well, what we did is we identified what our key business processes were, and where we fit into the project life cycle, and we identified three specific business processes that we wanted to digitize. And actually, when we mapped them all out, it did actually go from end to end. So we were pleased with that. But we can say we've got an end-to-end digital solution across the value chain. But yeah, set realistic expectations. Anybody got any comments on that? Please fire away. But yeah, we'll just move on. So we've done the why. We've got the realistic expectations. Now, what we then did is we manually mapped the process. So in order to make something better, we've got to first understand where we are and what we've got. So we mapped the existing process, and initially we didn't try to optimize it, but we just capture what is the as-is situation on that process. For example, you know, we just use for example the maintenance management system. So we mapped the existing process, and then we came up with a cycle time, an estimate of the cycle time for each of the constituent parts. And once we've got the cycle time, we can then have a good idea of what that costs. So we've got a process cost to get one piece, one planned maintenance routine through the system, for instance. So map the existing process and understand that process. Then we can do the value stream mapping. So then we can look for things like duplication, optimization, how many people are touching this thing, and we can streamline the whole process. So again, a very much a manual process, all about optimization. Minimize the touch points. So hopefully you can see, guys, how this is starting to develop now, and we're starting to understand our processes even before we started talking about a digital solution. Okay, Ricky, anything to add on that, or do you, yeah, we'll just go on?
Good, I think.
Yeah, so now we've got the why, we've got the purpose, we've got some outcomes that we want to achieve, we've mapped the process, we understand our processes, and now we were looking at a digital solution. So there's two ways that we can do this. One is we can prepare a software specification, exactly what we need, and we can create a solution internally or go out and get that coded. Yeah, in our experience, that's not a pleasant experience. What we did, we've done all that basically for the marketplace now. So we've got an end-to-end process. Or the alternative to going out is you can source suitable software solutions and design an implementation plan. So that's the two alternatives: create a specification and go the DIY approach, or do the research, go out to people that have gone through that journey and see how that fits with your particular instance.
And it's important to point out too that no one software can do everything. So it's really imperative to do the homework, do the research, and find the best softwares for each phase of the project, and then integrate those softwares together. And that's one of the reasons why I think we've had so much success, is because we're open to everything. We want to integrate with other softwares because we know we don't do everything, but we do this one piece very, very well. I think that's the most important point to hammer home on that.
Yeah. So there's not one silver bullet, Ricky. There's not one solution that fits all. Even with the bigger packages, there's a lot of redundancy, and you don't really end up using half of what you're paying for, I guess. So yeah, it's all about the research and finding a solution that fits.
And I'm just out of curiosity from my standpoint, I'm curious to see what everyone thinks the development and implementation and ongoing cost of a software would be. So if you'd be interested in putting down a number, I'm curious to see what would be said for how much, say over 5 years, how much it would cost to design, implement, and maintain a software solution internally, in addition to all of the complexities that go with being a part of a large organization, all the standard red tape that goes with it. So just out of curiosity.
Yeah, any ideas, guys? Any thoughts on how much that would cost, or how difficult it would be to? Yeah. So Chris is saying here, avoid any package with smart. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Right.
So just moving on. So step 5, of course, now we've got the solution. We've implemented the solution. We haven't gone for the big bang, but we've just identified 1 or 2 processes, and we're getting some results now. And here we measure, analyze, and we learn. So we're getting data, we're getting early data through, and from that data, as we said before, we can do a lot of things. We can calibrate and tweak the system. We can optimize it further, or we can, basically we've got the data to fly the airship now. So measure and report. Start your reports. We had our 6-point KPIs, and we started to collect data. And in fact, we've gone from a manual system, Drew, haven't we? Certainly on the MMS, we've gone from manual collection of data to a smart kind of, well, sorry, Chris, yeah, an intelligent way of collecting the data now, and we're refining the system even further. So, but again, you've got to start from somewhere, and the starting point is manual collection of data and seeing what results we're getting from that from the new digital system. Analyze results, and then we're getting the insights. So yeah, Chris is saying several times your initial budget is right. Yes, exactly. There's a lot of hidden unknowns. The cost would depend on internal capabilities. I don't think my was by this is by exactly, Adam. Yeah, good one. So yeah, measure, analyze, tweak, and what do we do if we're not getting the results that we want? We tweak it and tweak it until we get the results, and then we're getting predictable outcomes. So. Okay, number 6, of course, is continuous improvement. Calibrate and fine-tune the process until we're getting an optimum output, and we're getting satisfied, not only satisfied, but we're getting delighted customers. That's the object of the game. And if we do that, we're increasing our market share. So that's the whole objective to do that. So yeah, just before we go on, anybody that there's a couple of people there that said that they're on the digitalization journey. Any benefits that you can share with us that are obvious benefits that you've had from the digital journey? Is it cost? Is it process time? Are there some unexpected benefits maybe? Maybe Drew, what's some of ours that we've had? Can we elaborate on? We've had our software.
Yeah, it's definitely a process improvement and speed. So what I've seen is you put in a little time up front to automate something, and then you gain that tenfold in the back end, because the process that used to take 3-4 hours, if you spend 10-15 hours automating it, from then on it's 2 to 3 seconds after that. So the gains going forward are tremendous. And one very specific example of that, when I was on my first project in 2008, turnover coordinator, the company handed us a spreadsheet to fill out. They came up with their own tracking process, and literally the spreadsheet was 4 feet wide. So when you put it on the screen and you scrolled, you were scrolling for 4 feet. That was how much information they were gathering. I spent the first day I got it reviewing it, and then the next day I started tying our software into it. So it took a day to tie into that. But going forward, our sister projects that were using that same spreadsheet, but we're not using our software, it was taking 5 of them a full day and a half to populate that spreadsheet, starting every Friday. Mine was about a 3-second button press. So I had to navigate to the page and hit import. That's a real rudimentary example, but it carries forward into the digitalization process. So.
Nice one. Like Adam's saying, it's overcoming static friction, but once you've done it, it makes life a lot easier. Yeah, great.
Great analogy.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Well, thank you for that. Okay, so moving on then. Just a little bit about Tracker Technologies. We started this journey, our journey, in 2008. And Andrew, maybe you can explain to the audience, the reason why and our kind of design criteria that we use to form Tracker Technologies.
Yeah, sure. So I joined the company in 2008. Initial position was a turnover coordinator on a project up in Ohio. It's a combined cycle project. So I was going to be in charge of building the books and collecting all the paperwork and stuff in the 3-ring binders and whatnot. My previous jobs before that, it was a Navy nuke on submarines. So I operated the nuclear power plant. Prior to that, I was a software person. So I had a pretty good technical and software background. So the immediate thing I noticed day one on the job was we're stuffing 3-ring binders. That seemed crazy to me. But over my career, I learned to not buck the process, but learn the process and then start working with others to develop better ways to do it. If you just come in as the new guy and say, hey, we're going to change this, you'll get zero buy-in. Yeah. So from that first project I was on, we had 30-year veterans for the discipline leads, mechanical, electrical instrumentation, really great group of guys. Computers were not their favorite thing to use. They got through the spreadsheets and they did their normal job the way they've been doing it for 30 years. So what I did was go around, learn their process, watch what they were doing, learned what they were doing and absorbed it, and then started applying methods where we could take what they were already doing and apply an electronic function to it so you can reduce data duplication. So as I would start implementing this individually with them, they could see that their process was speeding up. They weren't doing it as redundantly as they had been in the past. The instrumentation guy was typing up ITRs on Word documents one after the other. Spent 3 days, converted that over to an automated process, and immediate had a fan right there. So his job was no longer typing ITRs all day long. So that went into our core philosophy. I didn't realize it at the time, but we were developing a core philosophy there. Learn the existing process, don't deviate too far from it, but automate it and digitalize it. If you can do that, and you can prove to someone that it's going to be easier, make their job better, you're going to get buy-in. So that was kind of our start off in 2008. And that's later discovered that was a huge different path than what most software companies took. Most of them were brought into the process, explained what they were going to be doing, and then they went back to their cube farm and developed software. And then they pushed it out to the field engineers who, on average, don't like computers. And it was a complicated, database-oriented, database-driven software. And most people didn't enjoy it. I started off in the field. I knew exactly who I was dealing with. I was doing the processes, and we developed it very simplistically up front. So the front end is very, very simple and user intuitive, but the back end is complicated. So that was our development strategy early on. And that's it.
Yep, that's good. So if people don't like it and don't love it, they ain't going to use it. That's for sure. So ease of use and adoption. Also, Drew, we used to get, the 5-minute warning. Okay, we need your help. So rapid implementation was a key thing, eh?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So another thing I discovered after going to multiple projects after that. So I operated in the power industry for a while, did combined cycles, coal plants, then ended up in renewables, and then finally oil and gas, petrochem, LNGs. But it seemed consistent across all the industries is startup was brought in at the 5-minute marker. So I've showed up on projects where I didn't even have a desk yet, and I had 2 weeks to get the books ready.
That's right.
So we knew the software couldn't be difficult to populate. It needed to operate on the fly and in piecemeal, because that's how you're getting the data is in piecemeal. So we developed along those lines so we could get things off the ground rapidly, quickly, without having too much information available to us, but then still be able to retrofit that data easily. Right. So yeah, great. I think one of our slides coming up is actual development principles and whatnot, and touch on a few more points on that.
Sure. And then before we got into this, I mean, we knew that we could make some really value-added software, but that's just one half of the equation. The other half is, can we have superior client support? So when our clients want to change, they don't have to wait 3 weeks in order to get a response. We needed it to be real time. Right. So we built that into the process as well, Drew, right?
That's correct, yeah. So our actual development software that we picked to build our platform on is it's actually a rapid deployment software. So we don't spend days and days coding something just to get a button on the screen. We can typically make architectural changes and changes to the workflows which is critical for different companies, in hours instead of weeks and months. So we kept our development times way down. What that translates into is we don't need 15,000 people on our team to be able to manage the software. So therefore, we're not a big lumbering organization that's hard to turn. We're small, quick. We've got the rapid development software behind us, so we can turn on a dime and modify the software per client so it fits their workflows. So we're not hitting you with a big giant piece of software and demanding that you change your workflows to match what we think is best. We come at it with a solid architecture that's proven cross-industry to work. So it works for oil and gas, renewables, power. It's got enough flexibility baked into it already. So when we come on with a new client and they show us their workflow and it's slightly different than the ABC company before them, it's pretty easy for us to modify and tweak it. So you're not fitting the software's fitting you. And that was another key item that we baked into the development principles.
Yep, thank you for that. Okay, Ricky, thanks. So yeah, moving on, as I said before, there's a circular diagram there that takes us from design, procurement, construction, commissioning and startup into operations and also decommissioning. So our packages, which are color-coded there, you know, they do span that whole project value chain or life cycle, if you like. Just a quick intro as to what those packages are. Tracker Prep. This is a facilities readiness and assurance package, which basically takes the corporate operationals readiness standard and provides a management system for the successful completion of that standard. We're going to go into this next week for anybody that's particularly interested in it. We're going to do a deep dive into Tracker Prep. So we won't go into it too much detail today, other than the fact it is designed to prepare the operator for ultimate ownership when the time's right. You know, when he gets the keys for the car, he'll be all prepared. Tracker Check is our kind of flagship completions management system. That's the week after next. We're going to have a deep dive into that. And then Tracker Run, which is our maintenance management system, is the week after. We're going to have a deep dive into that the week after. So basically the three packages take it from end to end. And we call that the Tracker Integrity Management Suite. There's a principle here that, you know, the CMS, the Tracker Check, ensures technical integrity, and Tracker Prep and Tracker Run ensures operator integrity. So we have the calculation, you know, TI plus OI, which is technical integrity plus operation integrity equals asset integrity. So, you know, the combined result of those three packages is heading towards, it's not complete by any means, but it's heading towards asset integrity management. Okay, Ricky? Okay, Drew, over to you with just a kind of a quick explanation on the development principles.
Yeah, sure. And we touched on some of these already. So these are the 5 development principles behind each software package. So this was our driving overall how we designed it from the ground up. Like I said, startup typically came in the last 5 minutes prior to construction being done. So we needed to be able to, one, in the center there, rapid deployments. We need to get the project stood up quickly with minimum effort. The C&SU is typically only 5% of the project. So you got a really strict budget. Construction always has overruns for various reasons. So it always eats into the time frame that C&SU has. You're already at the end of the budget already, so budget's always a concern. So we needed to make the software extremely affordable for the client. If they can't afford to use it, no matter how good it is, they're not going to use it.
Yep.
And then in the middle there, between rapid deployment and affordable, the flexibility. Again, I personally have been on multiple industries and operating the software in renewables, oil and gas, power. And they all do the same thing as far as checking out a motor, checking out pumps, instrumentation checks, DCS loop checks. but they all had their uniqueness as far as like handovers, quantity and types of personnel, the actual environment they're in, whether it's a oil and gas platform out in the Gulf, it's going to be a little bit different than a combined cycle sitting in Ohio.
Mhm.
So the software had to be flexible to adapt to each one of those environments, and not only the industry, but the project itself. Every project is, I always refer to them as snowflakes. I did 5 cookie cutter projects that were supposed to be identical, but they seemed completely different when it was on them. So we need to have that flexibility to adapt, usually to the project management, as far as how they want to run the project and see reporting and whatnot. And then the fourth one there, the simple user experience, that was day one. We saw that the end users shouldn't have to attend a 2-week training course and get a certificate of achievement and have college credits in database engineering to be able to operate the thing. If you can operate a spreadsheet, you should be able to operate our software, was the policy there. And then the connected design. Martin pointed out that I think it was actually Ricky, pointed out that we know we don't do everything that it takes. We're not Primavera, but Primavera is used on every project. So we knew we had to tie into those types of softwares. For Tracker Run, the corporate inventory systems or whatever you're using for your parts management. We can do it, but if you already have it, there's no need to duplicate that. Drawings are another one, your drawing warehouse where you're getting this, the engineering 3D CAD drawings. We don't want to be a 3D engineering CAD software company. There's plenty of them out there and they do very well. So we need to tie into those. So we made sure that our ability to tie into other softwares was extremely simple for us. We don't expect you guys to do it. We knew we'd have to, so we wanted it to be not a stumbling block. So it's very, very simple for us to tie into data. We've tied into, believe it or not, text files, notepad text files. We've pulled into that and pulled data in, and we've connected into 3D engineering models. So that's kind of A to Z of things we can tie into right there. So those were all the development principles that were driving how we're developing each software module. I believe the next slide is the actual architecture that we use for all the softwares as well. So this is the hardware background and the actual coding. We knew we wanted it web-based. We didn't want to have to load software on a computer because now you're dealing with operating systems and users having to manage things. So we wanted it web-based, so it was a global software. Group security policies, we needed it granular enough to be able to control data without making it cumbersome for the user. So we have a very granular but simplistic group security policy. So a person can come onto a project, be read-only, or you can grant them access to changing the construction field on the punch list. So very granular control, but it's very simplistic for us to manage. Cloud backups, that more goes towards your data storage. We want to make sure everything was safe. If we had any kind of hardware failures, that the project's not going to lose data or lose time. A day on a project is millions of dollars, so we didn't want to be involved in that. So everything's backed up and safe and sound. The data centers, so we primarily use rack space. We don't manage the hardware. We have experts that do that. And Rackspace has been in the game for a long time, and they have data centers around the world. So if you have a project in Canada, even if you sign the contract with us and 90% of your projects have been on the East Coast or something like that, but you get one in Canada, we can set up an instance on a Canadian Rackspace data center that meets the Canadian requirements that the data be stored in country. So we do understand that flexibility and we can accommodate that. And then the last one kind of ties into the development principle of connected design. We're API capable, and our API is that's just a secure communication protocol between softwares. Very simplistic on our side to tie in and drag over data via APIs. We just need the parent company's say-so to be able to do that, but on our side, really, really simple. So all of the softwares, all three of them use this development principle plus the architecture that you see right now.
Thanks, Drew.
Yeah.
Okay, so just again, a quick snapshot of Tracker Prep. And this software here kind of answers those questions on the left-hand side. Is your project 100% complete and not just a tick in the box? You know, do you have all the compliance and regulatory documents, and where are they? One thing's for sure, when it's time for startup and we get the regulators come in, they'll be certainly finding out. This is a management system here that certainly identifies everything that needs to be done. It allocates tasks out, it tracks the successful completion, and it's also a house or a repository for the actual final deliverable. So great auditing tool at the end of the day as well. And are you on track to complete on schedule? You know, there's a traffic light system here. So typically the manager will come in the morning and he'll look at all the tasks that need to be complete, and they'll either be red, amber, or orange, or green. And that gives the manager a really good indication of if we're on track, and if there's any activities that are going late, the phone starts to get hot, and your collar starts to get felt a little bit. So everything's identified and managed to successful completion, and it answers the question there: what's holding you up today? Anybody that's interested in Tracker Prep, next week, same time, we'll go a deep dive into exactly how that works, and we'll do a demo on it. Anything to add on that, Andrew?
No, pretty much covers it all. Yeah, it's a task-based system that you assign to personnel. So not only do you know if the project's late, you know why it's late and who's holding it up. So you can go talk to the right person with a couple of clicks. So you don't have to wait till Friday to find out if you're ahead or behind, and then spend the next week digging and figuring out why. It's obvious at 7 a.m. in the morning while drinking your coffee. Yep.
Of course, guys, any questions, keep banging them away in the chat box at the bottom there, please. If anybody's got any questions on any of this that we're going through. Okay, next one, Ricky. Tracker Check. This is the asset integrity tool that guarantees technical integrity at the end of the day. So it answers the questions: has every tag on the project been tested or inspected? What systems are 100% complete? You know, what subsystems are available for handing over to commissioning so that we can get working? What kind of problems do we have with engineering, construction drawings, or equipment? So again, it's a early fault finding tool. Were there any retests or certifications? And what are we inspecting and testing next week? So there's a look ahead as well. So there's some really unique features on this as well that, again, the week after next, we can have a deep dive and we can show you all the cool features on Tracker Check. Again, Andrew, please come in if there's anything there that you need to add.
Yeah, the key takeaway for me on this system is I've used other systems. I've done the job of turnover coordinator. And all the systems I've used, they all do similar things. What I found was the key difference was, and I joke around a lot about this, but if I can get the computer to do something for me, I'm pretty lazy and I'm going to have it do it for me. So what I found hugely different with ours was when I found a time-consuming thing that was taking up a lot of my week, that was just part of my job as a turnover coordinator, if I could spend a little time up front and turn it into a button push, I was going to do that. So one of the things Martin alluded to, one of the biggest slowdowns on a project is putting the books together and getting them ready for turnover. So we automated that process. So building a book for turnover, you go click a button and then you go do the rest of your job. And when you check back a few minutes later, there's a PDF sitting there waiting for you to download. That's your book. And if you choose to put it in a 3-ring binder, that's fine. But it's concepts like that where, yeah, we're tracking tags and we're tracking tests like other CMS softwares, but we're doing it slightly different, so it's easier for the turnover coordinator, so they're not wasting as much time as they would in other systems, and taking really time-intensive, labor-intensive items that other software systems don't tackle, like the book management. We jumped on that, spend some time up front, and to use Adam's comment down there, it's like overcoming static friction. Upfront work makes continuing operations easier. We spent the time up front to push that wall over, and now building a book, it's not a big deal at all. You just go push a button and move about your life. So that's one of the big takeaways from the CMS system.
Oh, that's great. I think anybody that's obviously connected with the CMS and hasn't seen Tracker Check, please just allocate an hour week after next just to have a look at this, because that data book is just one example of probably 6 or 8 items that we've really optimized. It's definitely worth seeing.
Right. And Chris pointed out something there, and I was going to mention earlier, but totally forgot. We fully understand some clients aren't fully digital. Some of their customers still require paper books, so we designed our system to do paper or digital or hybrids. So you can use it from a transition point, or you can be fully paper, fully digital, or somewhere in between. So we do understand that need was still out there, so we still have that ability in the system.
Great, thanks, Drew. Then the final package, Tracker Run. This is very much a fit-for-purpose maintenance management tool and answers all those questions there. We know that there are significant, shall we say, MMSs out there, but we find our clients certainly during project execution like to use Tracker Run because they can manipulate the data, get it into some sort of format that they want to get into. They can access all the PMRs, they can access all the KPIs, and then at the end of the day, if they want to go into a bigger system, that's fine. It all gets put in, but it's in the right structure that they want to see. So very, very user-friendly, very flexible software for maintenance management. Tracker Run, again, there'll be
it's important to note too that all of our softwares have no limits on users, so there won't be any bottlenecks, as opposed to other softwares such as a scheduling tool or something such as that, where you have one person is the focal point for the entire process, and you have to wait to get information in or get information out. Well, for our software, anybody that has access to it, they can have admin all the way down to read-only access, and they can get in there and get the information they need and get back to work.
Yeah, sure. Chris, note from Chris here, ADNOC are stamps and signature obsessed. So yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a little while before we get totally away from the wet signature, I would say, even though we're so far along with digitization. Certainly ADNOC are leading the way with that as well. So yeah, good point, Chris. Thanks for that. Okay, but just moving on then, just to kind of bring this full circle, this whole journey is all about doing things better, optimizing what we do to give the customer a better experience and make customers delighted at the end of the day, really. So, we have this thing, as we talked about last week, for those that were here, commissioning on demand. It's all underpinned by technology, and it all kind of fits under that value maximization. If we can provide services, goods and services that are underpinned with technology that makes delighted customers, we feel that we're achieving our objectives of doing a great job at the end of the day and increasing market share. That's the whole objective of the game, and I guess everybody on here has got the same objective. So I don't know if you want to come in here, Ricky, just with any sort of final thought on that.
Sure. I think the technology really touches on all three of these areas, where you can maximize the value by minimizing your costs through productivity. I mean, if you look at projects, probably the largest spend is usually on personnel, and I can't imagine what the average cost of time waste is on projects, but it's exponential, I'm sure. So anything that you can do to streamline the process, increase productivity, you're going to see immediate dollars to the bottom line to the project. So that's the idea behind the digitalization. but it also, like I said earlier, the safety aspect of it increases the level of safety, which there's a financial piece to it as well on the safety side, but there's also the obvious of everyone goes home, which is the most important part. So there's really, it touches on all three areas, I think, and it all adds up to, this is a better value for the client, and that's what we're trying to do for everybody, everybody through the value chain, whether you're EPC, operator, supplier, subcontractor, anything like that. They're all trying to make better value for everybody. So,
yep. I think we're a big believer in, it's not like 10 years ago where everybody's competitive. We've all got to work together at all levels now. The odds are so great now that we need to deliver excellent projects. And if we can do that together, well, let's do that together. So, yeah. Okay, Ricky, moving on. Thank you. So, yeah, I mean, just conscious of the time, we're coming up to the top of the hour, believe it or not. Any questions, please fire away. But, I hope you found this sort of useful. And, just to recap that, please go back to those 6 steps and just re-examine. Don't just rush into this. Go back and think methodically through why we're doing it. And hopefully the 6 steps will be some use to you. The linchpin is the why. That's the biggest one, really, as we discussed. The takeaway is no software can do it all. It's not a big bang. It's not one silver bullet. Just take it incrementally and implement slowly. And then really the question there that I guess we're going to pose is, does the cost of internal development outweigh the benefit of digitization? Do you want to elaborate on that, Ricky?
Yeah, really. I mean, it's kind of one of those, is the juice worth the squeeze at some point? Is the cost of digitalizing your business so great that it doesn't make sense to actually digitalize? Now, that's the balance you have to run. But I think if you do it in the way that we proposed, you optimize that process, you streamline that process, and you almost 100% can say, yes, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Not to develop it internally, but to basically utilize the softwares in the market, bring them all together, find out which ones work best, and then
exactly stitch them together. Yeah, indeed. So, a question there from Adam. While he's shopping around, Adam likes the flow charts, which we all do. We're kind of, that's our kind of go-to business process mapping for all of this, Adam. The question is, how do I deploy software such as this, I guess, with minimum steps and maximum abilities? Well, if we go back to those steps where we say, okay, the flow charts are really understanding your processes at the moment. And so that's not time wasted at all. That is mapping the flow as is, I would say. And then from that, we can then look to eliminate the waste and also map on top of that how our process fits. So when we have a new client, we generally have a kickoff meeting, and it's more of a workshop where we do exactly that, Adam. We look at the existing process and we overlay where the technology fits. So it's kind of this kind of arrangement. So yeah, we could probably talk a little bit more offline on that, but yeah. Okay. Any last questions before we wrap up for today? I'm conscious of people's time and getting back to work, etc. But if there's not any more questions, what we shall do is this presentation will be on our website in case you want to, please talk about it and point different people to it that's appropriate. By all means, do that. Anything, Ricky? Next slide, please. Okay, so just to go over the next sort of lunch and learn, which will be on tracker prep, facilities readiness. That's August the 27th, which is next week. We're getting through August at a great rate of knots here, and then the next one will be September. So tracker check and tracker run after that. So yeah, please move on. So if this has been of any interest and you like this kind of debate, just want to say that we have got CPS, which is the Commissioning Professionals Society Symposium. So, you know, we are members of this and we do promote it, as you're probably aware. We have got an event coming up on October the 2nd. Please go to the website and either register as an attendee, or if you are interested in presenting a paper on anything that's appropriate to commissioning for today, please do so. We have got a few booths and a few sponsors, I think, still available. But this is a virtual event this year. It's going worldwide. We've got quite a few people all lined up to do a great day of speeches. So just want to mention it. If you are interested, please go to the website and have a look at some further information. And that's it. Thank you very much for your time. We do appreciate your time. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for your comments. We do hope it's been of some benefit to you. And we look forward to again talking on LinkedIn, no doubt, and also seeing you next time. Any last words from you, Ricky? And
I just want to say thank you very much for all the participation and questions and input from everybody. And hopefully this was of value. And any feedback that you do have, please don't hesitate to send it to us. We'd love to hear what you thought was good, what you thought wasn't, what we can do better. You know, something that we want to do going forward. So whatever we can do to help would be great.
any last comment from you, Andrew?
No, all good here. Thank you. Appreciate everybody's participation and all the chat comments on the side. They kept me on track a lot. So thank you.
That's great. Well, have a safe rest of the week, guys, and we really appreciate your time and look forward to next time.
Thank you.
Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.